Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today I'm in conversation with Memory Nguwi, a registered and licensed occupational psychologist and human resource consultant. If you enjoy this conversation, remember to subscribe, to like, and to share. Let's get down to some work.
I know people disagree with me when I say passion. You don't choose a career on the basis of passion alone. You choose a career on the basis of passion and what you can do. People who want to set New Year goals, most of them, very low conscious, they want quick wins. Immediately, they can't delay gratification. They want things to happen tomorrow.
Memory Nguwi, welcome again to In Conversation with Trevor.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year indeed. And talking about Happy New Year, this is that time of the year when people get into the habit, the excitement of a new year, a new me. And the statistics show that there isn't much success around this new year, new me, which is around New Year's resolutions. And I thought you and I should sit down and have the conversation to help the people out there, the old and young. And then also, this is the season where December, January, February, companies gather their senior executives, senior managers, and sometimes even board members for strategic conferences, strategic reviews, and that kind of stuff. Again, my sense is that these are not as successful as they are meant to be. And we've got some statistics to look into that. So let's go into the personal stuff. First of all, congratulations. You've lost weight. What happened?
Okay, so in around February last year, I went to the doctor and I was weighing about 96 kgs. And the doctor said, you need to lose weight. He was actually like joking. Then after that, I thought about it seriously. And when I went home, I said, what are the things that I need to do that are not painful, that I will enjoy doing as I'm trying to lose weight? One of them was to walk. Okay, so I walk every day, 5.3 kilometers.
Well done.
No pressure. So I don't go to the gym for my own reasons. But the walking has been easy.
What are your reasons?
Yeah, most of the people go to the gym, but they find it very tough and painful. So they'll do it for a while. I know people who have paid gym fees. They do it for 2 weeks. After that, they actually forget about it. There are many who are in that kind of cycle.
Because they don't enjoy it.
They don't enjoy it.
And is it not also because they are setting these New Year resolutions based on wrong motives?
It could be, but if you look at some of the research shows that if you set goals that are what are called avoidance goals, the success rate is very low. Rather than setting more progressive goals, so that's one of the reasons. The other thing that I did was, weight and sometimes physical health boils down to what you eat. I don't eat soda anymore. I don't drink sugar. I don't use sugar. I use honey, but in moderation. I drink lots of water. I eat lots of vegetables, lots of fruits.
And this is with effect from February last year.
Yes.
And this has become a lifestyle for you.
Now, even when I go for function, people say, why are you not eating this? Why are you not eating? I just ignore that. I say, look, I don't even tell them I'm on a diet or something like that. That's my new normal. So that's the normal way I live now.
What's so interesting that that's where you are, and I'm excited about that because that's sustainable going forward, rather than getting into the excitement of let me set up New Year resolutions because everybody else is setting up New Year's resolutions. What's your take around the New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, New Year resolutions, strategic planning, and it's all about the concept of goal setting. It's a well-studied concept in psychology. And the reason why most people fail is the structure of the goal that has been set. There is a science behind goals. The science is that the goal must be challenging and achievable. Okay, those are two things. And also remember, when you say challenging and achievable, we're assuming the person has got the capacity. There are goals that people set when they actually don't have the capacity to do those kind of goals. So that's key to understand that there is a science behind the goals. Then the second part is that, which still comes from the science, is that don't have too many goals. You must read a book called Subtract.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we add more things, we get more busy and things like that. We count that as success. People talk about how many kilometers they've walked today. It's not really about that. It's more about how many goals do you have? Are they challenging enough? Are they the right goals? I was reading last night about goals, and one of the things that they found is that most of the people spend a lot of time working on the wrong goals. Okay? Or the circumstances have changed so much that the goal is no longer relevant. That's why people die when they go to climb Mount Everest. I'm sure I've read about those studies. They've done experiments and things like that. People stick to a particular goal that is actually no longer relevant, or that should not be achieved in that particular context at that time, simply because they don't want to go back and say, no, I've actually
Think
changed
again.
Yes, think
again.
People must reflect. There's nothing wrong with changing your mind if the circumstances have changed. I can come here and tell you this is what I want to do. 5 minutes later, new information has come in, and I'll change my mind. And it's perfectly
Why
fine.
do we think memory? Society has a label around this. If you're changing your mind from time to time, there's a negativity label that is associated with that. And yet, my own experience, I mean, last time when you were here, you recommended, I think, 5 books. I bought 4 of them.
Yeah.
I've read 3 of them. Each one of those has changed me. Each one of those has made me change 1 or 2 things about my life. So I change my mind when the facts change. And yet the society that we live in assumes that when you change your mind, there's something wrong with you. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so let's start with a few examples. I'm sure you've noticed that even kids, when they go to do A-level, for example, someone goes to A-level and they choose the sciences MPC. First week, second week, they find it's very tough. But most of the time, there's an opportunity to change. But they don't want, because they've already set a bar. People are very difficult to change when they make a commitment in terms of changing their mind. They think they must keep going, even if it doesn't help them. Okay, so, but the key issue around that is it boils down to who you are as an individual. If you have noticed, if you go back to science, you'll notice that there's a certain type of personality that will always succeed. There's a certain type of personality that will always fail.
What personality always
So
succeeds?
if you look at the personality traits, even if you look at the big 5, okay, there's one that is found in every successful person: conscientiousness. Remember, the South African minister who struggled with that. Conscientiousness. That is the trait. In the work environment, just look around, even where you are. There are people, when you give them a task, it will be done. They will feed back to you. You know it's done every time and again. Then there are others where you have to follow up. You have to send a message. You have to send a call.
Remind.
And the responses that you get from such kind of people, it's under control. It's in progress.
Defensive.
It's almost done. You understand? So those are the kind of people that most of the time they fail, regardless of how intelligent you are. If you don't have that trait, it's at a certain level. You can look at studies, entrepreneurs, whoever. As long as that trait is weak in you, you would need a lot of people to push you. Okay? There are people that you remind every day. But we spoke about this yesterday. How far are you? It's almost done, say. You understand? It's well documented, but people ignore sciences and everything. Even parents, they know their kids are very low on conscientiousness, but they don't help them. Some of the people, if you are still a child or you're a parent, you are trying to help your kids, it's actually good to do so. But for adults, remember, personality is a permanent disposition. It rarely changes. Okay? There are some studies that are trying to say, yes, you can try to change someone's personality, but the effect is marginal. And probably not even worth it in terms of the investment, in terms of resources. I can't come to Trevor. The people that know you as Trevor know that you have not changed. You understand? There are certain things that you can change. You know, some of the things are situational.
Yeah.
If you go to a wedding, you go to church, the behavior obviously need to mirror what is happening there. But the core Trevor does not change. It's like me saying to you, Trevor, can you write your signature?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You write your signature and I say, use the other end to write the same signature. You struggle. That's why people relapse to their normal self whenever they get an opportunity. An aggressive person will always relapse to being aggressive. They moderate definitely in certain situations. But the true self, you will find it there.
So going back to setting the New Year resolutions, you are essentially saying you got to recognize the fact that there are certain things that you can't change about yourself. So if you want the new me, the new year and the new me, what advice would you give to people?
The first thing is you must say to yourself, what are those things that I can do? The can do is key. Can do means you've got the aptitude and the capability to do so. There's someone who says, okay, they are weighing 150 kgs and they want to run 10 kilometers every day. It's impossible, almost impossible. They can try. You start small if you want.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, step by step, you'll get there. For example, I walk 5.3 kilometers every day. On certain weekends, I do 7.4. I just change the route.
Yeah.
But I have no pressure. Even if I walk 7.4 or 10 kilometers, I have no pressure. I didn't start by saying I want to do 20 kilometers every day. Because if I had done that, I would have abandoned that long back or fake to people that I'm still doing it when I've actually stopped.
So statistics show, I was just looking at global statistics actually, that by now, 60% of people that set up New Year's resolutions have failed. They've abandoned them. They wanted to eat well, they've stopped eating well. They wanted to go to the gym, they are no longer going to the gym. Maybe they did so first week or second week, but third week, 60% of them fail. By February, we're talking about 76% of the people have abandoned their New Year's resolutions. Talk to me about.
Yeah, it comes back to what I was saying about most of the goals. I want to reduce this, I want to reduce this, I want to reduce. It's avoidance. You want to avoid something, okay? If you go and set your goals in a more positive way, and they must be realistic and achievable. But more importantly, they must be within the capacity that we have. Don't set goals in a way to please people. You know, most of the goals, when you go, even the New Year resolution, we have had discussions elsewhere, where someone says, I can tell immediately this one, I will just give you 2 weeks, you will abandon it. And I've seen people who have actually done exactly that because they're too ambitious. They have no capacity to do what they want.
It's not for themselves, it's for somebody else.
They're setting it for other people.
So my belief, and push back on this as much as possible, is 20 years ago, I realized that New Year's resolutions are just a gimmick. I now set life goals, which I take advantage of the new year to revisit. And interestingly, like you said, my life goals, I tend to be an extremist and idealist when it comes to that. I've got a personal mission statement that I wrote 2005, thereabouts, that basically maps who I am and where I am going. My life goals are linked to that mission statement. And I am building my life. I am building things. I'm building the family. I'm building the business. That's what I'm looking at. I'm building myself. Like you, I started losing weight about 15, 20 years ago after I discovered, and the doctor said to me, the way you're going, I was 108 kgs. Okay. Look at where I am right now. And those are, I want to enjoy myself. I want to be able to enjoy playing with my kids. I started swimming when I was 52 years old. Started taking lessons in swimming because I wanted to enjoy jumping into the pool and playing on the beach with my daughter. What's your sense around life goals versus New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, with life goals, you'll find that the success rate is a bit higher. Because most people who tend to set life goals, they are highly conscientious. Okay? They are organized, they are diligent. Most of the time, if you check, even if you check, look at the research. People who want to set New Year goals, most of them, very low conscience, they want quick wins. Immediately, they can't delay gratification. They want things to happen tomorrow. They saw someone, a very nice body, very athletic. Tomorrow I'm going to the gym. They go and pay their gym fees. 2 weeks later, in some cases, some people abandon it within 2 days. If you check some of the research, 2 days. Too painful, this is not me. they go to their usual ways of eating. Okay, so that's what happens there. So if you go back, in whatever sphere of life, there are two things that will make a difference in your life, whether you succeed or not. There will be other factors. The first one is who you are as an individual. In psychology, we study what are called individual differences. All of us here.
Are you talking about values, principles?
No,
what are you talking about?
I'm talking about your personality as an individual. Remember, personality is largely hereditary in partly childhood experience. So we would estimate about 80% of who you are is largely hereditary. Not necessarily direct from a parent, but it's hereditary. In partly childhood experience, how you were raised, the 20%. Were you in an environment that encouraged people to work hard? Were you in an environment where your parents and the people that you lived with set goals and things like that? That shapes you as an individual. That's the 20%. Right. Then the second is God gave everyone something to put in their brain. Okay?
I'm laughing because I've heard you say that before, yeah?
Something to put in their brain.
Yeah.
But we are not gifted the same. Gifts are different. There are some who are very good analytical. There are some who are very good communicators. There are some who are very good with physical work and things like that. It's the reality. It's the nature of life. Let's acknowledge that first.
Know yourself.
Know yourself. Who am I in terms of what can I do? Okay? I know people disagree with me when I say passion. You don't choose a career on the basis of passion alone. You choose a career on the basis of passion and what you can do. If today I want to be a doctor, but I have no capacity to be a doctor, it's the same thing that you see in employment. People hire people who have no capacity for the role. Then they spend the rest of their work life trying to correct those same people. We say screen at entry. If you're hiring an engineer, get an engineer. If you're hiring an accountant, get an accountant. But the problem is there is an obsession generally with qualifications. Okay? If you've got these many qualifications, you must be a good employee. You must be a good manager. If you've got an MBA...
I'm going to stop you there. Yeah. When we come back, I want us to go to that point of know yourself.
Yeah.
What is that process like? What does it look like? And then I want us to go to annual strategic conferences and the planning and so forth, why most of them fail, according to the statistics that we've got.
Yeah.
So at home, don't go away. When we come back, we're going to go to that place where we ask you, do you know yourself? And what's the process of knowing yourself? And also getting down into analyzing why annual strategic conferences fail. See you on the other side.
This demand by employers, say, I want a master's degree, I want an MBA, is depriving them of some of the best talent that we have in this country.
Greetings. My name is Trevor Ncube, host of In Conversation with Trevor, Zimbabwe's most engaging conversational show. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. We've brought before your screens change makers from arts, business, and politics, and from the region. Please join our growing community of viewers. Subscribe, like, and share. Welcome back to our conversation with Memory Nguwi, a registered and licensed occupational psychologist and a human resource consultant. We are very excited, by the way. We have just reached a huge landmark for us, which is 10 million views on our YouTube channel. The channel continues to be huge on TikTok, on Instagram. Instagram is growing quite rapidly. Thank you so much for your support. 10 million we are celebrating and 78,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. Memory, my sense is that a lot of young people, and sometimes even adults, don't know who they are. I mean, this sounds like a silly thing to say, but a lot of people don't take time to know who they are, what it is that they're good at, what it is that they're passionate about. There's a tendency to focus on what's outside, what political parties are doing, what political leaders are doing. But do you know who you are? How do we get to know who we are?
Maybe let's start with children who are probably Form 1 going upwards, in some cases even earlier. Very few people actually get proper career guidance. That's where these things are done. Okay, so when you do this assessment, they're called career guidance assessment. We assess your aptitude. What is it that you are capable of doing? Remember what I said? Yeah. We are gifted differently. The second issue is, what is it that interests you? The third thing is, how do you prefer to work and behave as you go through your life, which is your personality? So those three.
Yeah.
The aptitude. You can get someone who has got the aptitude in STEM subjects, as an example, but they have no interest in that. They actually want to be a pastor. Okay? They want to be a social worker. They have so much interest in being a social worker. Or you get someone who has got the aptitude, a very good communicator, very high verbal reasoning, very good critical thinking. They can be a lawyer or a marketer, but you find they are extremely introverted. They don't want to see people. So those mismatches that you find, we pick them early and redirect. Normally when we have conversation with parents after doing the assessments, you find that the parents actually knew, they saw those things, but they just didn't have the evidence. So evidence-based assessment, where you start early. Your life will never be the same if you do that. Let's look at the fact, Trevor. Most parents invest a lot of money in their children's education, especially when they are now going to Form 4 and A-level. But the mistake that some may make is that they want to create doctors out of pastors, out of social workers, out of geography teachers.
Engineers, out of sociologists.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Because they want to live their dream through their own children. But the reality on the ground is not like that. There is a sequence in all this. Does the child have the aptitude to be an engineer? Does the child has the interest to do whatever they want to do? Does the personality allow them to do that? Imagine you are an extreme introvert, for example, and you are forced to be in a role or to choose a career that is going to put you in front of people and talking every day. What it means is that you go home and be very stressed all the time. So that mismatch. So there is very little career guidance. They used to have the school psychological services that used to do that. But I think there is a huge gap for parents. I've had assessment with parents myself as a psychologist, where if they were to testify, I'm sure when they watch this, they will testify some of their confessions that they've given as a result of those assessments. That's when the knowing yourself will start. It doesn't start at 50 years. You can still do it at 50 years. But imagine if you knew certain things when you were 14 years, 15 years, early adulthood. You could have
and you continue to iterate.
That's correct.
Right.
But there are also people who...
You mentioned an important point, Memory. School psychological services. That is an important service that the government schools were providing. It's no longer happening.
I understand it's there, but it may not have psychologists. Because the problem is most of the psychologists have gone into private practice. They are more remunerated.
And we don't have so many psychologists
very few.
as a country.
There are very few.
Yeah, sorry, I broke your stride.
Yeah, there are very few. So the investment that a parent can do in making sure they understand the capacity of their child early, the interest that they have, and the personality. The interest, the good thing is that it's an iterative process. You can say, okay, I'm a STEM person. The aptitude is there. But as you go through, things are changing with AI and all these things. You discover, no, I actually don't want to be a data scientist. I actually want to be a mathematician or some kind of engineer. That is allowed. Don't put your kids into a rigid, narrow corner in terms of interest. There's a parent who asked me, so if you allow me to, if you say the person must do this, but there's no money in those careers. Okay, they're now looking at money. But remember, the issue of money versus careers is a supply and demand issue. A career that is well paid today, 5 years down the line, the line may not be as lucrative.
And should money be the deciding factor?
No, it should not. But I do get concerns. Maybe I don't know whether it's happening in other countries. Mostly Zimbabwean parents, they want someone to go into a job that will give them money. That's why probably eventually people are looking at the wrong role models. Because you must make money as quickly as you finish school. But the best way to make money after school is to have something to offer to and solve a problem.
And life is not about money, memory.
Yes.
Life is about a lot of other things. I think if you do it that way, then you're going to get so many
That's
things
what
wrong.
we tell the parents. So let's forget about money. Let's make sure the child has got a right career. That will make them survive when things
That they
change.
will enjoy.
And more flexible. Yeah, but most people don't look at that. I've got testimonies of parents that took their children into wrong subjects. Look at these statistics. Most of the time you find a parent says, go and do MPC. The person comes back with one A level.
Yeah.
And the next step is that they say, go and repeat. They spend another 1 or 2 years repeating. They've wasted 5 years of
Their lives.
This child, if I had done career assessment on them, I would have said, okay, they're an average student, okay, in terms of STEM subjects. But they will do extremely well if they go apprenticeship. As an example, they must go to the poly and do actual apprenticeship. We have a shortage of plumbers, we've got a shortage of electricians, we've got a shortage of all the skilled category of stuff, we've got a shortage. And even if this market was going to be saturated, they are in demand across the globe. Go to Australia, you're an electrician, you get hired. Understand? But the thrust nowadays, I don't know where it's coming from. Every parent wants their child to go to university. To go there to university, they waste 4 years, come back and sit at home. Eventually, they end up in farming, and eventually they end up not doing anything, even the farming.
And before we leave the subject, and some people are under pressure to do MBAs when they don't need MBAs. To have a degree when, I'm a living example. When Inos Chura, who used to be CEO of Delta, sent me on to be tested to see whether I wanted to do an MBA. And when the test was done, this guy came back to me and said, you don't need an MBA. And I think actually you'll struggle with an MBA. But my sense is you'll struggle, you don't need it. I think you'll do well in life without an MBA. That was a liberating thing. But guess what? 2-3 years later on, I tried to do an MBA. I did not enjoy it at WITS. I ended up running away from it. What advice do you give to those people who feel under pressure to do an MBA? Because so-and-so has got an MBA. What advice do you give?
Let's go back to the science first and say, why are people aspiring to do MBA? Because the work situation and employers in general, they've prioritized more qualifications as a proxy for performance, which is not correct. If you go back to look at scientific research, it actually shows a very close to zero correlation between the years of education or the more qualifications you have with actual job performance. Let me give you a typical example. If you take 10 accountants today, they're all chartered accountants, they've got a first degree, and out of those, 5 of them, they go on to do an MBA. It doesn't necessarily follow that those with the MBA will do the job better than those without MBA. And we have been saying this for a long time. This demand by employers say, I want a master's degree, I want an MBA, is depriving them of some of the best talent that we have in this country. Because not all of us need the MBAs. But you know what the employers are doing? For you to be promoted to be a manager,
you must have an MBA.
You must have an MBA. Okay, so the promotion model is wrong. And also the other problem that we have is, if you perform very well in any particular role, you get promoted to a manager. That's wrong. Okay? There are some people, even if they are good, they must stay where they are. They are not manager material. They don't have the potential to be managers. There was a study that was done, I think...
You remunerate them, you recognize
yes.
them, but they stay where they are.
Yes. So there was a study that was done in about 415 organizations across the globe, where they looked at salespeople. They discovered that companies were promoting their top salespeople into sales manager. And in one of the studies, once they've promoted this brilliant sales person
into a manager
to manage 15, 20 others, sales went down by 32%. Okay? In another study, sales went down by 17%. But when they went into the same pool of salespeople and said, who among is this, regardless of their performance, who among is this has got managerial potential? Okay? When they promote those people, sales went up by 20%. That's what is called the Peter principle. When we promote people to the highest level of incompetence, that's what is happening in most organizations. We're using the wrong frame to hire people. we are using the wrong frame to promote people. And that's where the pressure for MBA. I was interviewing another gentleman the other day, and this gentleman had 3 master's degrees. And what did you use those for?
I'm not saying anything.
You understand? So, but if people are doing them in order to just feel good, it's okay. But I want to assure you to advise employers to say your over-reliance on these highly qualified individuals is what is destroying your organizations. Which organization do you know that is run down by people without those?
Shall we move on to, like we said, this is the time when companies get their senior managers for strategic conferences. What is the experience with those strategic conferences in terms of their success rate? Are they done properly, and what's the right way of doing strategic conferences?
Okay, so the biggest issue is that if you look at the study by David Norton and Kaplan in their book, which is probably one of the best studies done on strategic planning now, but I also, because I love strategy in general, I also went into other research. The research by Norton and Kaplan found that 90% of organizing strategies are not implemented. They are on paper, but 90%, which means
that's a lot. Only 10% are implemented.
Which means 9 out of every 10 organizations that you can look at, put in a pool, 9 out of them can't implement their strategy for various reasons. One of them, which I later discovered later in life, was that most of the people go on a strategy planning session to go and produce action plans, not strategies. Okay? Because an action plan is not a strategy. A strategy is an integrated set of choices that you make, whether in life or you make certain choices and how to win when you have made those choices. That's a strategy. So, and also when you look at most of the strategy, you find that most of the people set strategies around things that they can control. A strategy, predominantly your strategy should be about things that you can't control. Because your strategy is about compelling people that are not within your control to act in your favor. The customer, the employee, the stakeholder, you can't control them. You must give them such a good value proposition that they can act in your favor. But what do we do most of the time? We go, let's cut costs, let's reduce people, let's do all these things. Those are not strategies. They are already within your control anyway. Just go and do it. Why would you want to call that a strategy? It's not a strategy. Just go and do it. Even in cases where people say, well, we want to cut costs. Research shows that when you reduce the layoffs that people do, most of them are not done in the correct way. People lay off people who are actually contributing. People lay off people on the basis of political reasons rather than actual performance. So you're running a business that depends on relationships. And you go and lay out of 10, you lay out 5. And those were the core of the business relationships that were in your organization. That business will fail. That's why you find most of the layoffs, immediately after that, they come and start going down.
So what's the right way of doing strategy?
The right way of doing strategy is to be able, I was reading a book based on very good research. They say, most of the time the strategy is actually disconnected from what is happening on the ground. So the people who are interfacing with your customer are actually saying, yes, they've gone for a strategy, but we continue doing what we've always done because that's what brings the money in.
Yeah.
You understand? Those guys the executive who go out there and do their strategy, they come back, they find that no one actually bothers, they cares about what the document that they've produced. So a strategy is an iterative process, because as your employees are interacting with customers every day, they're actually creating strategy. Remember, strategy is about choices. Okay, you are making choices about where to play, which business to be in, which services to offer. Then more importantly, how to win. Let me give you an example. If you look at Microsoft as an example, you remember they bought into mobile phones at some stage. That is, they made the choice to go into mobile phones, but they didn't have an integrated strategy to win. You must have an integrated strategy that says, how do we win? And one of the problems that I have noticed is people say maybe business is down. Okay? Then they start running around, coming up with action plans. You must phrase your problem. Remember, strategy is a problem-solving tool, and people don't use it like that. They're just doing it as a ritual. So if it's a problem-solving tool, you must say, what is our problem? Okay, the demand for our product has gone down. You go back and rephrase that. Customers are no longer buying our products because our products are expensive. okay, leading to low demand. And in order for you to address the low demand, you must solve the customer's problem. Don't solve your problem. Most people run to solve their own problem without solving the customer's problem. Once you solve the customer's problem, your problems will disappear. It's a natural course.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you there. We're going to come back.
Yeah.
When we come back, I want us to, you've been in this business for 25 years.
Yes.
Just yesterday and before we started, you and I were talking about the disruptions that technology is having.
Yes.
I mean, we've the Chinese DeepSeek that has completely upended, I suspect, the business model for NVIDIA. And I want to know from you what AI is doing to your business, what technology is doing to your business, the threats and opportunities that arise from there. So when we come back, we're going to go there. So at home, don't go away. Join us after this short break. See you on the other side.
There are so many people, brilliant minds, brilliant young people that I have met and seen who will go into an executive meeting and keep quiet. Because what they are going to say doesn't matter. Because the boss knows everything.
Welcome back to our conversation with Memory Nguwi, a registered and licensed occupational psychologist and human resource consultant. Like I said before we took the break, you've been doing this for 25 years in the human resource consulting business and the HR line functions. And I want to know what for you have been the most significant changes in your industry, when you look back 25 years ago and where you are right now. Where have those changes come from and what have they been like?
There are two major developments. The first one is HR is moving towards what is called evidence-based management. There's a lot of things that happen in HR that have no value to the business, but businesses are spending money on them because they're nice things.
Such as?
There are people who invest in a lot of HR practices. For example, diversity and inclusion is one of them. Very little impact on business performance. It's actually close to zero. There are people who are investing in what you're talking about, the generational issues. In actual fact, there are no generational differences if you go back to scientific research. And I can explain if you want me to do that. So the movement, there are people like Professor Robbie Briner who are pushing that in a very big way. They've just released one of the best studies on what are the top priorities for an organization that want to win on the HR front to support the business. Because most of the time, I find there's a disconnect between what HR is doing and what the business wants. So you must always start with the business. Where do we want to go and where does HR come in? And the top issues, they say you must have systems that are solid to hire the right people. Half of your job is done. But that's where the weakest link is. That's where the highest nepotism is in recruitment and promotion.
All across the world.
Across the world.
Yeah.
Okay? Even when we did a study locally, we found the recruitment and promotion, they were the top ones. So, but that's the area that has got the highest impact on your business. Just look around. When you hire the right people, even as a manager, you do less. The second one is performance. 80% of performance management systems are dysfunctional. They are there on paper, but
80%.
Yeah, but no value addition. One, because there is no cascading of top level goals down within the organization to every individual. And in most cases, those goals, you find someone has got a goal, they're a CEO or a manager with 40 goals. The research shows that the more you add, the less you perform. Okay? So at a CEO level, no more than 10. 7 to 10 is good enough if you know your priorities. Then the third one is reward. Are you really rewarding the people that are giving you value? Are you do value sharing with those people? Those are the top. The rest, they are there, but there are others that will be okay, but they are there, some of that don't work. For example, organizational culture. A lot of people invest a lot in organizational culture. But if you then look at research, it shows that the relationship between organizational and the culture is 0.01 in most cases. especially with the real business outcomes. Because most of the time people do culture change without identifying the business problem that must be addressed by the culture. So any problem, let's go culture change. Any problem, let's go culture change. Culture change will not solve your problem. Remember, culture is the unwritten code of conduct. That is not written anywhere, but people observe it.
How people conduct themselves
Yes.
every day.
You can come up with policies, but there is an unwritten code that you know if you go and join CNN today, you will get to know about the written code of conduct in 2-3 days. It's not written anywhere, but you have to comply. In order for you to be accepted in that core group, you have to comply. That's why you call culture is the rules of belonging.
Yeah.
You must belong. That's key. Then the second movement is AI. You know, towards the last quarter of last year, we trained close to about 150 HR professionals on just how to use ChatGPT, Gemini, Cloud, and the other AI technology. It changes the efficiency of how you do things. For example, Trevor, you want to hire someone. You have got a job profile. AI will help you to develop what are called KSOs, knowledge, skills, and abilities required for that role. And then give you the questions that you must ask in order to hire, and give you the answers that you must then rate, that you must use as a marking scheme. That job on its own, people hire consultants for that. It can take days. Within minutes, if you were to hire a photographer now, and we use AI, in the next 5 minutes, we'll have everything that we need to hire that person. That's efficiency. Okay? People are using AI for workforce planning, for example. You load in your data, it will tell you where are the gaps. If you've got a competence model, it will tell you where are the gaps. Literally every area.
Where has your company changed as far as AI is concerned? Where have you harnessed the most benefits?
For example, we developed a performance management system that is AI-driven. What now, if you, Trevor, you give me your strategy document, that AI model that is in our system that is called Performance Manager will take all the key priorities in that document and set goals for you, including the targets. Okay? And you can tell it, please cascade it to everyone in this organization as long as they're in the system. A job that was going to take a consultant 3 weeks to do, within an hour we are sorted. Then the people just go there and say, could please
So that's a
confirm?
consultant out of a job.
Yes, that's a consultant out of a job, but that's also a consultant more efficient. Because the manager or the ordinary manager there doesn't know how to use it the way I know it. So I'll go there and say, okay, let me do it for you.
So you have experienced the benefits of AI firsthand.
In a very big way. In a very big way.
Where do you see the threats as far as your business is concerned? I did ask AI, by the way,
the threat is generally automation of things that do not require a lot of critical thinking.
Let me just share with you. So I said, what are the biggest threats that AI poses to HR practitioners? I asked this question to DeepSeek yesterday, and it came up with the following: job displacement and role redundancy, bias and discrimination in AI algorithms, loss of human touch, that's very interesting, data privacy and security risks. Do you agree with these? Would there be other additional threats that you can? I mean, it's got 10, and it gives you reasons why it's come up with those.
But AI has got its own benefit. But you must read the book called I can't remember the author, but I read it. It's called AI Snake Oil. Okay,
snake oil.
Yeah, you read the book called AI Snake Oil. They go deeper into how you build these models. But remember, these models you can also build with biases. The people that are building these models, they're taking data largely from certain
regions, yeah.
Certain regions of the world. You come and want to use it here. So context matters, okay? And what is more important is actually to customize, because the good thing about these models, they give you an opportunity to build yours and build your own data.
Yeah.
So you're putting context to this data. Because if you don't, you may actually think you've got a very good advisory from AI when it's actually not.
False.
It's when it's actually false. I'm sure you've heard of lawyers who were given false case laws by AI. And the other day when I was trying to talk to ChatGPT, actually it was Gemini, it refused to answer the question. For example, one of the things
you need to be quite averse with what you are doing for you to be able to use.
You still need to be very knowledgeable about what you are asking, the prompts that you are giving. One of the things that they have also observed is that these models get tired, okay? Because they use the data You know, when you get tired during the day, certain times the quality of the contribution tend to get lower. And there was one guy, I think he's on Twitter, he's a very well-known guy in this area, talking about AI. And he was saying we must also look at those. If you lose them around 5, 6, you may actually find it's not as efficient as it was in the morning. But it's also discussed in that book, AI snake oil. So there are advantages and disadvantages. But my advice is, by now, if I had my own way and they could advise any company,
Yeah.
90% of your staff should be at advanced level of using AI. The efficiencies are massive.
Absolutely.
They're massive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your assessment of, you've sat on 12 boards, including listed companies. You've chaired HR committees and so forth. What's your assessment of the local environment around the effectiveness of boards and HR committees?
Yeah, I think you know, I also went into research. It was, you know, you join this board, you find this one is efficient, very good, and they make very good decisions, others basically being there. What they discovered is that there is one key aspect that separates successful boards from unsuccessful boards, is the ability to dissent. Okay, the freedom to dissent, basically psychological safety. Because most of the boards, they go in there, if the chairman says something, everyone hands down. We go with that. They always say a good chairman for a board is the one with an empty head. Okay, the chairman must speak less and give guidance and collate what people are saying.
Listen.
They must listen. You understand? Because what they found is that all the boards of companies that have failed, they had the right qualifications. Enron had more chartered accountants than any other organization at that time, probably in the organization, but they still went under. Okay, the qualification range does not really affect whether you are going to be have a good board or not. You want people who come there, regardless of their qualification, who are going to say this is wrong. This is what I suggest we do, rather than conforming to whatever is there. Look at brilliant people, brilliant minds. Look at the terrible decisions some of the boards have made. And you say, but there's so and so there. There is so and so there. It's not about that. There are people who go there who can't say a word. There are people who go there who can see we are going in the wrong direction.
And they can't talk.
They can't talk.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
But what about the effect of we have certain people who chair so many boards. If they have, if they're blind spots, according to what you're saying, then that spells quite some negative results, isn't it?
Definitely. There is also scientific evidence to support that. The more you chair, they always give a threshold of about 4 or 5. Anything above that, the performance starts going down. You have no time. You're a human being. You have no time. Because chairing a board requires you to know the nuts and bolts of that business.
With an empty head, though.
Yeah, with an empty head. Because what you find is that if you're going to hire a board, don't look for people who are looking for employment. Because if you're going to look for people who are looking for employment, they will make the wrong decisions. They will make decisions using the stomach.
And they insert themselves in the business rather than allowing management to run the business.
That's we say hands out, nose in, hands out.
Yeah.
You must be able to know what is happening in the business without necessarily interfering with what is happening in the business. There's a lot, with the boards, if people could follow some of the scientific evidence because remember, after all those scandals, there's lots of very good research around how to structure boards. But people seem to be doing it haphazardly. They just bring in people to make numbers.
Well, one of the things that you've touched on right now, which a number of people have raised following your very popular episode 2 years ago, is psychological safety. It takes two to tango. The employer who wants to speak out, and an organization that provides the space. What's the right environment that's going to support psychological safety in the boardroom, as a country, as a people? What's the right space?
After that discussion that we had, I went to dig deeper into some of the research. McKinsey did a very good research, readily available, to say what are those drivers of psychological safety in an organization. And they came to one point: leadership. And the leadership style that you use in your organization will create psychological. For example, they did a study that found that when you are using consultative kind of leadership, you create what you call the mediating factor called team climate. And team climate affects psychological safety. The correlation is 0.7. It's very high. Then when you go to authoritarian leadership style, the correlation is negative 0.5. Okay? So you can see the impact. Without getting the leader who can say, I don't know everything. I need the team around me to help me. Look, Trevor, there are so many people, brilliant minds, brilliant young people that I have met and seen who will go into an executive meeting and keep quiet. Because what they are going to say doesn't matter. Because the boss knows everything. So if your boss knows everything, why would you waste your energy?
But don't we also have a culture, memory, of people not standing up to speak their truth? As a country, in corporations, people are shy. They don't want to be upfront. Do you think that's come because of the manager, of the leadership?
No, because of the manager.
No.
They are, even in these organizations where we find that people don't speak up, there are pockets of truth tellers within those organizations. A board that does not have one or two truth tellers will fail. The same applies with an executive team that does not have one or two truth tellers. There are people who will stand up, even if they are alone. They'll say, this is wrong. And those are the people that you require. But let's go back to the source. The source is, there's a trait, it's a personality trait called agreeableness. Okay. There are people who will agree with you whether you're saying something of sense or not. Oh, yes, boss, wonderful stuff. Those are the same people when you go out, they say,
Kupi.
Okay? Yeah, but there are also people who are average, on agreeableness, who will question. There are people who will question, who ask questions. Very few people ask questions. They think it's being disrespectful to ask questions, but I do. You ask questions. Don't stop asking questions.
You need to be confident to ask questions.
Yes, you need to be knowledgeable. Okay. But remember the mistake that we talked about. Whether hiring a board, hiring an executive, what do you have on paper? A master's, MBA, they must be good. Let them chair the finance committee. Okay. You're making a mistake. You look at the person. Do they have value that they are adding into the board? There are people who sit on boards, but with zero value. Management can testify, I'm sure, for those that have got boards. You will find that some are actually on autopilot. There's no one there. It's not that the boards know everything. I don't think there's any board that is technically deep into the business. Your managers come with advice and direction. You vet that advice by just asking questions. Okay?
Wisdom,
yes,
experience, tolerance, being able to listen, then give guidance.
We take things at face value. People must read a book called Critical Thinking for Business. I've read it now more than 10 times. It's gold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shall we go to books? Like I said, the last time you were here, you recommended 5 books. I bought 4 of those, and I've read 3, and each one of them has changed me. Shall I? I mean, this is a great book. This is a book that I recommend that
every manager, as long as you're leading.
Hidden Potential by Adam Grant.
You know why that book is so good? Or even the books that we are reading here, they're all based on science.
Science. Evidence.
Yeah, it's evidence.
Evidence.
It's not someone just coming with what they think works. Tested through experiment, through controlled experiment, through top-notch research.
So this book has been absolutely of great value to me. The other book that you recommended, absolutely love it, is Think Again. Think Again, I have implemented it. I'm implementing it in the way that I do business, in the way that I interact with people, life and family and everything else, and in who I'm becoming. And that is that my beliefs must be examined all the time. And it's amazing when you step back on certain things that you used to do and you reflect, but why am I doing that? And suddenly become,
And
so
it
thank
has
you
got
for recommending this book.
Very good practical tips that
Yeah.
are backed by science. Go do
Absolutely.
this, and these are the results that
And
you
what
get.
happened and so forth.
Yeah.
Think Again is a
Yeah.
great book. The other book that you recommended that I've read, it's not easy to read. This is Amy Edmondson. She is perhaps the authority on psychological safety.
Definitely.
And I found this book absolutely
The right kind of role.
Absolutely, very interesting. I'm still to read Denying to the Grave and the Fearless Organization that you recommended.
Yes.
Are there any additional books that you'd want to add?
I can't remember the author. The one on critical thinking for business.
Right, critical thinking
If
for
there
business.
is any manager who can get hold of that,
Do you
book,
remember who wrote it? No, you can't.
I can share with you later. If you can, if there is any manager who can, leaders who can get that book, please give it to your staff to read, especially your senior managers. And the book Subtract is also another edition. We pile up things all the time instead of reducing some of the things that we do, so that we become more efficient. The last one is called by Gary Klein. It's called Seeing What Others Can't. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, what I love about this book, which a lot of people, we spoke about this.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with changing your mind.
Definitely. Yeah.
Changing your mind about the way you view things. Changing your mind about what you do. You're walking now, you're not going to be walking, what you eat and so forth. It's part of growth.
Yes.
Changing your mind is part of growth.
Even if you announce something big today and 5 minutes later there is evidence that this is wrong,
you change your mind.
But businesses and leaders don't want to do that.
They think it's a sign of weakness.
Yes, it's not. If they read that book, they will find the good examples there of people who have actually done it that way.
Memory.
Thank you so much.
You're always a pleasure to talk to. You know, every time you and I sit, thank you. You created time for the Ideas Festival in 2023. Hoping to see you in 2025. You are a fountain of wisdom.
Thank you.
What I love and what people love about you is that what you talk about is based on evidence. Where is the evidence?
Yes.
Where is the science? And there's nothing as assured as having the evidence, having the facts that support the line of thinking that you take. So thank you so much for that. For you at home, thank you so much for your support. We are celebrating 10 million views. That is huge. 78,000 subscribers. We're very excited. Thank you so much for your support. Remember, we are a weekly show. We are back. This is our first episode for the year. We've been taking a well-deserved break. Remember to subscribe. Remember to like. Lots of details about this episode below this video. Click there. Go onto our podcast. Our podcasts are growing quite significantly. Instagram, we are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. Indeed, we are on YouTube. TikTok is also another platform that's growing. Thank you so much for your support. We love your comments below this video. Keep those comments coming. Until next time, cheers to you all.